see the galactic consciousness in its spatial situation in the cosmos. There's nothing in between it and God's source. It is one of the first I see in the transit to it during the induction, the movement through the cosmos past the other galaxies, and it's, while instantaneous, very, very far. Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I can see, as I travel along my connection back to my source, the unlimited number of galactic source consciousnesses that are in between it and Earth. That makes Earth a very, the galactic consciousness that created the Earth sphere makes it a very young galactic consciousness in the frame of reference, and is why the issues are occurring at this juncture with its polarity experiment that are in need of rectification. All of the galactic consciousnesses have sent their sparks here.
Is there currently an effort to end the polarity experiment on Earth?
Yes, of course there is. We were just speaking of this at the connection today. We were just discussing it. But yes, there is an effort to end the polarity experiment on Earth. It's happening. It's working. Everyone can see it. Everyone can feel it. They can feel the changes. All of the awakened ones are working with this task in the manner that they think is appropriate. That's why there's so many different messages, and yet the messages seem similar, and yet different in some fashions. The messages of just love and light, and the ones that exclude any discussions of darkness or negative polarity, those are they're very useful. They're not entirely accurate. They are omitting specific details. However, the messages are necessary for those people that require the messages of just love and light, and who would focus too intently upon the messages of what the actual conflict is. And in that regard, they are very useful. Todd finds them incomplete because of the perspective that he sees as his galactic source consciousness. When he connects, he has all of the information at hand of everything that's happening, and it is frustrating to him to see incomplete and not inaccurate knowledge, but incomplete knowledge being provided. And in this regard, he doesn't understand that the information is necessary, because the people that are at different levels require a different type of information. This part he knows. The phrase he likes to use is, "You cannot teach a third grader algebra," and that's what we're doing here. We're making the message fit the people that need to hear the message. So the messages are all different. Some messages are just about love. Some messages are about evil monsters that are trying to crawl inside your head. Some of those are useful and necessary, and others are distractions to align to fear and postpone the inevitable change into a positive polarity and unity with God's source, and the removal of the negative polarity on the planet and in this galactic construct. The people that are waking up can discern the different messages. Talk of scary lizard men that are eating children is not useful in any regard, and that doesn't matter whether it's occurring or not, or has occurred in the past. It doesn't matter. It's not anything that can be corrected at this juncture. The juncture is to remove the negative polarity, and in that, those messages are not useful. The ascension is to happen as soon as it can happen, and that's the basis of all of the messages that are coming through, and all the awakenings, and all the galactic sparks that are here. They're all here to push the ascension forward as quickly as possible to end the experiment, so that negative polarity is eradicated. The holding back, the energies, it makes no sense. If there are many, many different beings of positive polarity alignment that are here to assist in this. The ending of an experiment in this manner has never been attempted before. And it has created so much curiosity that everyone wants to be a part of it. From everywhere. And they're coming to do that.
How far along are we in the process to end the polarity experiment?
That's a good one. Hold on. We have to think about that. You're seeing, Todd is seeing the planet. And it's like there's a dark and a light, and he's watching it as it's moving around in the planet between dark and light. Not a fuel gauge, the thing in the airplane that shows the horizon in your wings perspectives as you're flying one of your airplanes. He's seeing that moving back and forth across the planet, up and down. The planet is more than halfway in the light and less than halfway in the dark. It's looking, your measurements are foreign, right? It's not 2/3. It's a little bit less than what Todd would consider as 2/3 light. So it's more than halfway. It's not 2/3, but it's moving. It's moving in the positive direction. It is changing. Negativity feels that it is waning. The negative polarity knows that it is waning, and there is a point in the negative path where it is almost impossible to turn to face the light. And its only option is to be realigned and reabsorbed by either galactic source or source, it's God source itself. And that the polarity is so far removed from its connection to God source that it can no longer find its way back to it. And these are the entities that are fighting furiously to prevent the positive polarity. In its limited consciousness, it doesn't understand that there is no winning. There's no outcome for the negativity to maintain its experiences in the negative path if it cannot turn and find its way back into the light. The consciousness Todd followed the negative path, as previously stated, wanted to experience the negative polarities and took it to the edge, like we said before, previously stated, but maintained a connection to the light and knew when to turn around and go back to the light. It was an experience. It wasn't a choice to stay in that path. It was an experience of that path. These other entities that are fighting for their very survival, as they see it, I mean, there is no death. There's just being realigned, and you lose your negative experiences. You go back to your galactic source, and you come back out again. It's not a big deal. I don't understand. Well, I do understand their perspective of it. They don't They have a very limited concept of what existence is. But the ones that are still fighting either don't realize that they can turn to the light and change, or cannot turn to the light and change, and are fighting for what they consider to be their survival. So the initial question, where are we? We are more than halfway, but not quite 2/3 in the measurements that Todd sees in his head. And this seems to be the most appropriate measurement as the darkness and the light and the little view that he has in his head here.
Since the Earth is more than halfway in the light, why is there still so much visible conflict on Earth at this time?
That's an easy one. He heard that in his head when he wrote that question down. It's the cleansing. It's the same thing from his very first session. This is the cleansing that has to occur. Any infection has to be cleared. The negative polarity is viewed from a galactic construct viewpoint as an infection. It was a poor experiment, as we have previously stated in other sessions. Other galactic consciousnesses do not approve of the negative polarity experiment. They sent their sparks to experience it because who had ever seen this kind of stuff before? It's the craziest thing ever. But it's a poor experiment. So as a facial blemish that rises to the surface has to erupt and clear the toxins, the same is true with polarity and the infection that we call negative polarity. The negative polarity is coming to the surface. It exists. This is another question that Todd has on his list there. Negative polarity exists within consciousness, and the consciousnesses don't even realize that the negative polarity is existing there. It's existing as the fear and the hatred and the division and all of the things that are foreign to non-polarity worlds exist here as the detractors to unity. And it exists within consciousness. And let's find an appropriate analogy here. Two shopping carts bump into each other in the grocery store. As you and Todd were in the grocery store earlier today. Two shopping carts bump into each other in the grocery store. People of a positive polarity without negativity within them would smile at each other, probably laugh at the encounter, say they were sorry, maybe even engage in a conversation and get to know each other. People with a negative polarity existing within their auric sphere would be mad that you bumped into them. How dare you? You're in my space. I'm mad at you, scowl at you, get angry at you. This is the example of negative polarity existing within your consciousness when you don't even realize it. That's why in the previous discussion about love, when we said you share your God source love energy with them to help realign them and remove the negative toxicity that is existing within their consciousness. You're helping them. The people of positive polarity, the ones that walk around as light bringers that are giving the message of love and light, are these people that can realign and remove this negative polarity from individual consciousness. And this is so critical at this point right now, to remove the negative polarity that is hiding within the consciousness of this planet. It's so embedded, it's so ingrained in traffic. Someone cuts in front of you. I'm so mad. Why? Why are you mad? Why does that make any difference at all to anything? Why are you mad at that person? Why is there something called road rage? Why does that exist on this planet? What is that? That's negative polarity existing in your consciousness, and you don't even know it. And you don't have to have it. You can make it go away. You can dissipate it. Begin to meditate. Find the light. Find the light within your heart. Start to love everybody. Stop being a messenger of hate and discontent, because it's going away. And you don't want to be the last person on the planet that's carrying around hate and discontent within you. Everyone's going to be looking at you like you're crazy.